So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out on a beautiful San Francisco summer day, blessed by the weather and blessed by having all of you here to really celebrate what is a milestone and a critically important project, a transportation project for the future of San Francisco, and not really just the distant future, but from the day the Central Subway opens, it'll be providing critically needed capacity and service to the people of San Francisco. On my way here, I was unable to get on the first 30 Stockton bus that came by because it was too crowded. The 8BX that I finally got on was squeezed, packed to the gills. That's exactly the capacity that this project will bring to the city from the day it opens, but really for the next generation, for all the growth that's coming to San Francisco, particularly to the east side of San Francisco where the T3 line runs. So we're really happy to be here. A big project like this doesn't happen overnight. It takes many years, in this case decades, of hard work. It takes vision, it takes leadership, it takes a lot of technical diligence, financial and engineering and project management, and there's been a lot of people, too many to be able to thank today, but know that a lot of people spent a lot of work trying to make this happen. I do want to acknowledge in particular some of our funding partners. We're joined by Leslie Rogers from the Federal Transit Administration. We're joined by Tilly Chang from the County Transportation Authority. And I don't know if anyone is here from the MTC, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, but we do have one of its commissioners here who will speak to us. We have Bijan Sartipi from Caltrans, a lot of folks working together to make this happen, and particularly our federal delegation, our senators, Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein, Leader Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi has been a great champion of this project. We couldn't have done this without her. And I do want to acknowledge the U.S. Department of Transportation, starting from Secretary Norm Mineta, who was really at the beginning of this project, all the way up to our Secretary today, Anthony Fox. A lot of great support from our federal leaders to make sure that this project could happen. But the leadership then really becomes an on-the-ground project, and it was years of work from a lot of people in the city and county family. So I'm happy to ask you to join me in welcoming the Chief Executive of the city and county, our Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you, Ed Riskin, and congratulations. I am delighted to be here with our board president, David Chu, who represents this area, and I'm sure he's figuring out which soccer team is ahead right now. And of course, Supervisor Scott Wiener, who sits on the MTC, but is also the district supervisor where I live in, so that's also good as well. And you're right, I think Ed already mentioned all of the agencies that have been working together, and the county, the MTC, Bijan is here, so he sits on the MTC and representing Caltrans, and want to thank him, the board of the MTC. But kind of most importantly, with this milestone, I want to really thank the community leaders in Chinatown and in North Beach, Telegraph Hill. They've been so integral to pushing this project, and as you can see, the signs in the back, finishing the subway, delighted to see that because that reinforces a decision that was made, gosh, about 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, where we were struggling because we already knew that 30 line was so filled, as Ed described, and people are already telling us, we've got to improve the transportation system north and south here in this city. And this tunneling of the two boring machines today is a milestone because literally, if you get your right hat on, the Central Subway team can allow you to see the heads of the two boring machines, Big Alma and Chung, which are the affectionately named. The two boring machines have their heads in the retrieval shaft just below us to indicate the most important milestone here, which is the biggest part of the tunneling is finished. And it's been about a year's worth of work drilling underneath, quietly doing its work, but also building behind the tunnel boring part, the actual tunnel itself. 8,500 feet, about a mile and a half through the city, reaching from just south of Moscone near the Townsend Street all the way up through underneath Union Square, and then through Chinatown and now here to North Beach. This is a remarkable milestone, and I want to thank all of the people working on this project, on the Central Subway project, all the laborers, all the locals, all the labor family of San Francisco. Mike Terrio's here today as well, the construction trade unions, all working. We're knocking on wood, making sure this is the safest project that we can have for all the workers, because it is a wonderful project, an expensive one, but one that is well worth the future of San Francisco to embrace on. But I can't say enough about the community leaders who had advocated for this, because they were able then to convince our federal leaders, Leader Pelosi and Senator Feinstein and others, to really get the serious money through the help of President Obama. But it was always been the community leaders, groups, working with our city planning, and now I see the president of our planning commission here, Cindy, as well. We've got a lot more planning to do in the city, and with the leadership that I'm working with the board, we want you to make sure this is just one of the big projects. The next 2 years' budget reflects of serious investments in transportation, road resurfacing, as well as pedestrian safety. We've got to continue working on that, as well as our street designs to make sure they are designed properly for all of the different modes of transportation. So we have reflected in the 2-year budget a very serious contribution to that. And of course, we have a big decision to make, hopefully with all of the residents in San Francisco this November, $500 million general obligation bond that does not increase the property taxes in San Francisco, and yet gets $500 million of investment to our municipal transportation system and the fleet that is so needed. I want to thank our San Francisco MTA and the board here today for their leadership and all of that. Transportation is a serious, expensive matter. We have to complete all of these transportation systems to make our city work. Without that and housing and the business relationships that we make, we won't see a very positive future. All these things have to be working together so that people can live here, work here, and get to their jobs correctly. So I look forward to working with everybody to complete this project. Our assessor recorder is going to get all of the increased property taxes that we'll generate from this system and collect it so we can pay for all of the things we need in the city. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for the success of this project, and for keeping us constantly focused on our infrastructure in the city. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You could hear a little bit of the former Public Works Director coming out in terms of talking about the tunnel, really understanding how important this kind of investment in infrastructure is, even when a project of this size is something that you don't even see above the ground. So critically important to San Francisco. The leadership for this project, really for all infrastructure investment in the city, a lot of it comes from our legislative branch, our Board of Supervisors. And I'm pleased to say that every time an action came before the San Francisco Board of Supervisors related to this project, it was adopted with unanimous support by the Board of Supervisors, something we can't say for everything else that comes before the Board of Supervisors. That leadership has been consistent and steadfast throughout the history of this project. We're very lucky for the last number of years to have had a president of the Board of Supervisors who also represents the district where a lot of the construction is happening. Throughout this project, there have been some bumps along the road. President Chu has always stood very firm in support of this project and in support of moving it forward. And really, I think it's fair to call him one of the chief architects of the plan that actually got us standing here today instead of standing out right in the middle of Columbus Avenue as the project was originally improved. By brokering the arrangement to get this off-site or off of the public right-of-way, we're able to get this done in a way that had much less disruption to the public, also facilitated or maybe expedited the work of removing a community eyesore. It was really him championing that change but really the project overall that's gotten us to where we are today. So I'm pleased to welcome up our board president, District 3 Supervisor David Chu.
Good morning, North Beach. This is a glorious day. I have to tell you, I have never been so happy to see a massive hole in the ground as I am today. We have come a long way, and I first want to start by welcoming our two heaviest new constituents into District 3 and into North Beach, weighing 750 tons each. Mom Chung and Big Alma, welcome to the oldest and most historic neighborhoods of our city. I think many of you know they've traveled a long way, over 1.5 miles each, and moving 114 cubic yards of dirt every single day in order to get here, on time and on budget. I also want to take a moment, yes, let's give it a hand to on time and on budget. I also want to join Mayor Lee in thanking the community for coming together for decades, from leaders who are here today who 3 decades ago talked about this vision of the densest neighborhoods outside of Manhattan finally building a new underground subway. I want to thank all of our city departments who came together. I want to thank the men and women who are wearing the hard hats that did the work to get us here. And I also want to take a moment and thank our communities, from our leaders in Chinatown to our leaders in North Beach, Telegraph Hill, and Russian Hill. You are the ones who came together. You're the ones who came together a few years ago to say that this very site, the former Pagoda Theater, needed to be the place where these tunnel boring machines came about. And I want to thank you, as well as my colleagues, for moving these important projects forward. And let me also say that I have a vision that I think is shared by many of us here. And I want to thank our colleagues that put together a planning grant for the idea that our work is not done. We finished phase 1, we finished phase 2, but we need to move forward with phase 3. And we were able to get our central subway from the Bayview to the heart of San Francisco. We are with phase 2 moving us from Union Square underneath Nob Hill to Nob Hill. But I say we need to finish the subway all the way down to the Bay. And I want to say, does anyone agree with that vision? So again, I want to thank you for this amazing announcement today. I know we've got a lot of work to do by the year 2019 to make sure that we have phase 2 done, but hopefully with a little bit more work and a little bit more money, we can complete this and connect 16 million visitors in the Fisherman's Wharf and North Beach area to the rest of the city. I look forward to working with all of you to get that done. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, President Chu. Members of our Board of Supervisors serve in multiple different capacities. In addition to being one of the strongest advocates for transportation investment in the city, and particularly for investment in Muni, District 8 Supervisor Scott Wiener also serves on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and he serves as the Vice Chair of the County Transportation Authority. So please welcome Scott Wiener to the mic to say a few words.
Morning, everyone. So I had a similar experience to that Ed Riskin had this morning. I got on the subway at Castro Station. I got off at Pal, and I remember thinking at the time, boy, it would be nice just to switch over to the Central Subway instead of having to walk the 5 blocks to catch the 30 or the 45. So I did that walk, got on the 45. I was basically almost hanging off the edge of the bus because there was no room. I enjoyed getting to know a number of Chinatown residents on the bus, and it was great, but it would have been nice if we could have just hopped on a subway and had a little bit more capacity. We know that San Francisco is growing. We know that we're going to add another 150,000 residents. The Bay Area is going to add 2 million residents through 2040. And we can't keep doing things the way we've been doing them, just assuming everyone's going to have a car. We don't have the space in this city. We have too much congestion as it is. We have to keep moving forward, expanding our public transportation capacity. And that means adding to what we have, and it means adding new lines like the Central Subway. We need to make sure that this extends all the way to Fisherman's Wharf. We need better north-south connections in this city. And this project has been such a great collaboration. Mayor Lee has been an extraordinary advocate for the project, Board President David Chu, and our County Transportation Authority, which because of the sales tax transportation funding, thank you to the voters, has provided more than $120 million to this project, including $43 million for these boring machines. So it's been a great, great collaboration. I just want to close by saying, there's been this sort of narrative that we see in the press and in some public discourse about major transportation projects, whether it's high-speed rail, whether it's the Central Subway, whether it's a downtown extension, that boy, it's expensive and it sometimes comes in more expensive than you originally thought it was going to be. And boy, there's going to be some controversy in terms of alignments and where you build things. And boy, there are even lawsuits. So sometimes people say, you know what, it's not worth it. Let's just back off and just let people keep driving more cars and creating more congestion in our cities. And that is not the way to think about it. I don't think that there's a major transportation project in history that hasn't had some cost overruns, hasn't taken longer than you thought. The Golden Gate Bridge came in over budget and had more than 100 lawsuits associated with it. Can you imagine if we hadn't built the Golden Gate Bridge or if we hadn't built BART? That was controversial. We need to stay the course on the Central Subway and build it, finish it, have a station at this site, and extend it to Fisherman's Wharf. Thank you.
All right, I think we can all support that. So the mayor mentioned property taxes, and we're not really here to talk about property taxes, but they're important to us for a couple of different reasons. One is that Muni gets the biggest set aside of the city's general fund, and so as the general fund grows, Muni's ability to deliver services grow. And given that property taxes are one of our most important revenues, they're very important to the operations of Muni. Property taxes are also important because, as the mayor said, when we issue new debt, such as the $500 million general obligation bond that's proposed for this November's ballot, we do it in a way that doesn't increase property tax rates. And we're able to do that in part because we're growing the tax base. So there's more property tax to support general obligation bonds so that we don't have to increase property tax rates. So we're very happy to be joined by our assessor recorder, who in her previous job as a member of the Board of Supervisors was part of the approval, those unanimous approvals, numerous of them, to keep this project going. So please join me in welcoming Carmen Chu.
I'm glad when people see me, they see dollars and money. Anyway, today I'm so pleased to be here. I didn't have exactly the same experience that Scott had or Director Rieskin had. I was actually driving in my car to get here today and ran across a lot of different construction. There is a lot of construction that's happening across the city. And there really is no better way to get people out of their car, to get folks on public transportation, than to have a transportation system that is top-notch, that is also interconnected. And having represented the Sunset District in the past, the folks who are way out in the avenues, you can imagine it sometimes have the hardest time getting to the central part of the city. And so when you think about Visitation Valley, you think about all the different places and communities that finally will be connected through the Central Subway. I can't think of a better project to help unite San Francisco and to get people out of their cars. So today I really wanted to come out here to celebrate, to see this big hole in the ground, but really to just thank all of the community leaders and people who have been advocating for Central Subway way, way before any of us came on the scene. I think as electeds, it's very easy sometimes to support and get behind projects that already have momentum. But for the people and the community members who advocated for this project when there was no advocate, when there were community members who were fighting for the money to be put in place when there was no money, those are truly the heroes and the people we have to thank for this project being here today. So today I want to say thank you to all those folks who have done that. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. It's a great point. There's really a lot of folks who worked on the ground to make this project possible, a lot of people outside the government, a lot of community leaders, and we owe a big debt of gratitude to them. If not for them, this wouldn't have even gotten the start that it did, and we wouldn't be here today. But when it comes to actually getting the project done, the hard decisions about approving contracts, about approving construction budgets, comes to the board of directors of the San Francisco MTA, and we've had great leadership from our board over the years. They're really the ones who have driven this project forward. I'm not sure if there are any other members here, but I want to really thank all of them for their ongoing leadership and support of this project, and very pleased to welcome up the chairman of the SFMTA Board of Directors, Tom Nolan, to say a few words.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, I'm delighted to be here on behalf of our Board of Directors. There are 6 of us currently, and we hope there will be a 7th one very shortly. We've been very proud of this project. We've been on the front lines in many, many ways. Citizens have come to us all throughout this to talk about their concerns and their issues. We've listened, and I think the result here today speaks for itself. My job here today is a very important one. When we first got into this, we were told, I didn't know this before, I had no reason to know it, but tunnel boring machines are always named after great women. And the two here, Dr. Mom Chung, she is represented today by her grandniece, Tina Lopatrick, and her great-grandnephew, Taylor. Could you come forward, please, just so everybody can know you, see you? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. Dr. Chung, Margaret Mom Chung, was the country's first female Chinese-American physician and a surrogate mother to thousands and thousands of veterans in World War II. Big Alma is an identical tunnel boring machine named after a philanthropist and socialite, Big Alma, the Bretteville Spreckels. Big Alma launched last summer constructing a tunnel parallel to Mom Chung. Representing her family today is Adolf Spreckels. Come forward, please, so I recognize you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And glad to be here on behalf of our board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So once all of the great leaders, the community leaders, the political leaders, the folks behind me make a project like this happen, somebody's actually got to then do the work to build the project. And like every other phase of this project, the planning, design, and construction has been a very collaborative process. We have a core central subway team, but the rest of the SFMTA, the rest of the city family, from DPW to the planning department, to numerous other bodies, to community supporters, particularly to the trades, to labor, and of course our private sector partners. This is really a project of this scale is done with the public sector and the private sector working together. And we've had great support. Our overall project management is done by AECOM. The design work for the tunneling was done by PB Telemon. And the construction of the tunnels being done by Barnard and Prelio Healy. And there's numerous folks that have been putting their blood and sweat and hopefully not too many tears into this project over the years. I do want to acknowledge the chief engineer, Matt Fowler, the resident engineer, Sarah Wilson, the tunneling project manager, Ben Campbell, just representing some of the many people, yeah, please give them a hand, many people who've really worked to make this happen. And that's all come together under the leadership of someone who has been living and breathing this project for many, many years. We're happy that his family is still speaking to him because this project has really become a member of his family. Can't begin to convey the leadership that he brings to this project, not just sitting back as a project director in his office, but getting into the details when it's needed, solving problems, making sure that we get to points like today where we can celebrate such a significant milestone. So please join me in welcoming our project director, John Fungi.
All right, good morning, everyone. This is a wonderful day for San Francisco. You all been invited today because you played a special part in making Central Subway a reality. I want to thank you for doing a great job, and thank you so much for your support. We did it. All right. So you're about to see the cutter heads of 2 tunnel boring machines that have just completed a very long journey. We have Mom Chung to your right and Big Alma to your left. Now Mom Chung, actually reversed. Mom Chung is a 21-foot diameter machine, 300 feet long, 750 tons, machines that are just literally beneath your feet. Mom Chung was the first machine to launch at 4th and Harrison last year. She launched in July, and she arrived on June 2nd of this month. Now, Big Alma, she's done built tunnel at an incredibly fast pace. She was launched in November of last year and just recently arrived on Wednesday. These machines have excavated through 113,000 cubic yards of dirt, soil, rock. They've built over 7,000 linear feet of tunnel, complete line tunnel from 4th and Harrison all the way up to the portal box here today. This work has been done primarily because of the dedication and support from our contractor, Barnard Impergilio Healy. They have driven tunnel over half the pace that we had originally thought. One of the riskiest elements of this job was the BART undercrossing on Market Street, where Mom Chung literally had a 7-foot separation between two active BART operating tunnels and Mom Chung. Barnard did the work, actually made the crossing on Thanksgiving of last year. They worked 24 hours a day to make that happen. They did the same thing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's dedication to make that we need in order to have a successful project. Barnard has earned our respect and admiration. I'd like to give them a big thank you for doing such an excellent job. We also, before we actually visit the tunnel, we have a little surprise. Only a few people know about this, but literally we have a little token of appreciation for the leadership in San Francisco. I've been blessed with overwhelming support. Director Ed Riskin mentioned that every item that was brought forth to the Board of Supervisors received a unanimous decision. I can't tell you how wonderful and easy that makes my job. And this project has been successful because of the leadership of Mayor Ed Lee, the Board of Supervisors, my boss, Ed Reskin, the Director of Transportation, Mr. Nolan, the Chairman of our MTA Board of Directors. It makes my job easy when you have a unanimous group that supports this project. And so we have a token of appreciation, a brass token that just been recently made documenting Mom Chung and Big Alma's historic journey. Thank you.
So I want to thank everybody for coming out today. What we're going to do now is we're going to allow some of the folks behind, and I think some media to go around so you can actually see the faces of the machines, and anybody else who wants to see it. We can only do a certain number of people at a time, but anyone else who's interested is welcome to stick around, and we'll take folks through afterwards. So thank you all so much for coming out today.